Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy and Other Stuff podcast. I gotta start off, as always, and want to say thank you to my patrons. You guys are the LeBron James of podcast fans. That's a great analogy, if you ask me. I mean, come on, who else is so emblematic of the sport that they play? There's probably other people I could have used, but I'm calling you guys the LeBron James of podcast fans, and you're going to have to just be happy with that, okay? That's the best I can do. But anyways, thank you guys for your support. Thank you so much. And if you don't know, I have a Patreon, and it's the best way to support this podcast and to support me. And I appreciate every single person who, does it because, yeah, I love you guys so much. Anyways, that's the worst Patreon thank you I've ever given. But you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It works. So yeah, let's jump in just right away. Let's hop into what I've been reading this week. Last week, I've been talking to you guys. I started reading The Lies of Locke Lamora. I was almost done with it, I believe, when I recorded last week. I think I finished a couple days after I recorded last week's episode. And, oh man, I wish I had been done earlier because the ending is the best part of the book, and I didn't get to fully discuss it in the last episode, and I've been reading something else, so it's not sitting with me as hard right now, but the ending was fantastic. There was a lot of threads in this book, a lot of different plot lines and subplots that I didn't really know how they were going to be important to the overarching narrative, and I wasn't sure exactly what Scott Lynch was doing with them, but the way he brought it all together, the way everything got tied up in the end was extremely satisfying. And I think I had talked about in the last episode, I wasn't super attached to the main characters. John and Locke are the two, in my opinion, the two main characters, and I wasn't super attached to them. In fact, I'm actually really surprised that I see them so often in people's top favorite fantasy characters of all time, because I see it all the time where people say that, and I don't understand. I mean, I think they're great characters. I enjoyed their presence a lot, and I think that they had really good banter, really good dialogue, and their personalities were fun and playful, but they weren't that incredible of they felt very, I felt distant from them, I guess. I understood their backstories, because you get a lot of the backstories in this book, and you also spend a good amount of time watching them do stuff, but even with all of that, I don't feel like they had a lot of depth. I don't feel like they were super rounded. They were flawed characters, and they, had a good friendship, but I didn't feel like I intimately knew them. So I'm surprised that I see them in so many top character lists. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I feel like backtrack. I loved the book, okay? I'm not saying I didn't like the book. I'm not saying I didn't like these characters. I'm just surprised, because when I finished it, I made a video, and I had a bunch of people commenting saying, oh yeah, John and Locke are probably some of your favorite characters now. And no, they're not. No. I don't understand where that comes from. I guess maybe if I read the sequels, I'll understand that better, but within this first book, no. maybe later, and especially maybe on a reread once I know them a little bit better, I would feel more attached to them. But it just off this first book, no. I don't feel like I know them nearly well enough to put them on that list. But yeah, this is besides the point. I don't want to trash talk this book. I thought it was great. It's not my favorite thing ever. It's not it didn't blow my mind. It wasn't the greatest book I've ever read, but in my TikTok video I said it felt like eating chocolate, and I think that's a really good comparison for this book. It was so tasty, man. It had all these neat little dialogues and all these interactions in scenes that were just so fun, and they were so cleverly written, and I don't feel like I experienced that a lot. I feel like it's usually what I gravitate towards is a lot more gritty, or a lot more epic and large in scale. And this was, for the most part, a pretty contained story that didn't have anything too flashy happening in it. And I enjoyed it. It was a lot more toned down than what I normally read. And I think I kind of needed that, because I'm so used to reading stuff that's world-ending stakes, or the characters are so intense and so out there, and this was not that. This was definitely, it was like a pile of velvet. These are terrible analogies, but you know what? They make sense in my brain. So anyway, Lies of Locke Lamora, thumbs up. I give it a thumbs up. You should definitely check it out. I've been told, I have been told that I should read the sequels. I've also been told to not read the sequels. It seems like the more I post on TikTok, the more I get conflicting opinions. Just all the time, literally every single thing that I post about, I get someone who says, oh, that's mid. And then someone else who says, that's my favorite thing ever. I have screenshots on my phone right now. Actually, I'm going to pull this up. I made a TikTok about the reading order of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere books, which apparently now I am the leading authority on that, which I am not, by the way. I haven't even read a couple of the books that I put in that reading order. And there's like stuff that I haven't read. There are definitely better people to be going to for that. But I'm glad that I'm helping people out. And like, I wish I had read the books in the order that I presented them in that video. I did not, but we'll talk about that later. My point is, I made that video and I talked about I haven't read Elantris. And the reason I said I haven't read it is because I read Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive first, and then I just never got around to it because I've been told it's like his worst Cosmere book, and it's just like hard for me to backtrack almost, which is why I wish I had read it before those. And these are comments that I got. I took screenshots of them because it was really funny. I literally refreshed my page, and these were one comment, and then the other comment was right below it. So the first one said, I've read everything else Sanderson has published, and Elantris is easily his worst, in my opinion. Even his children's series is 100 times more engaging. And then the comment directly below it said, Elantris is my favorite book ever, in all caps. I feel like that just sums up so well, like, what my experience posting about books on the internet is like. So many conflicting opinions, so many people with just wildly different experiences with books. And I mean, there's people arguing in my comments just all the time. Someone commented something like, Brandon Sanderson is the most mid-author ever. This is just another example from yesterday's poster. He said that, and I just ignore it. I mean, I don't care when people say stuff like that. You can have your opinion. It doesn't matter to me. But there was like 25 comments replying to it. It was so funny to look at, and just people arguing in my in my comment section. But that was pretty emblematic of like what it's like when I post something, especially if it goes viral like the one I posted yesterday. It's just really funny to me. So anyway, Lies of Locke Lamora, good. Now I can talk about the book I'm currently reading, which is Jade War. Oh, dude, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, I made a video about this too. I made a TikTok about this too, okay? Jade War. It's all about, so the whole Greenbone saga, it's all about the dialogues between characters. It is a bit slow at times. I'm not going to argue that point. It is definitely slow because there's a lot of politicking, like a lot of politicking. A lot of people just like in, private rooms, trying to get one up on each other, talking about trade and the economy and stuff. I think it's interesting because of how good the characterizations are. So like, it feels like everything someone's doing is like a form of posturing or showing how their relationship or their opinion to someone has changed or showing how they've grown as a person. And sprinkled in among that is some really good fight scenes, some really good emotional climaxes, and like a lot of really good, what's the word I'm looking for? Dynamic developing, like between characters, seeing how because of a thing this character did, how has long-lasting effects on how another character views them or their opinion of them. And since this takes place over years, this series takes place over years and years, it's so interesting to see how all this unfolds. And Jade War, the back half of Jade War especially, is, oh, it's so good, dude. It's so freaking good. I almost cried the other day. I have like 80 pages left. I'm finishing it today. 100%. I only stopped because I needed to sit down and record this. I almost cried. I almost cried, and I'm only on book 2. There's another book after this, and dude, my mind is blown. I am so in love with this right now. It is, I mean, it's really taking off now. I mean, the thing is, I've come to appreciate when an author can spend their time building up all this stuff and then kind of having it all fall down in one fell swoop. This isn't quite like a Sanderlanche like Brandon Sanderson does it, but Fauna Lee does it in divots, I guess. That's not probably the right word, but she does it in like short peaks. So it's like, there's an event about a third of the way through that happened in Jade War that was like, oh shit, oh fuck. And it was like this crazy thing that happened. And then it sunk back down and we had a long part of exposition and then boom, another peak. And then a long part of and then boom, another peak. And now we're just kind of riding a peak to the end. She kind of brings it in spurts. And every time it happens, you don't really see it coming because there's so much politicking, and then boom, this one chapter just changes everything. It's awesome. I like it a lot. I could really sing its praises a lot right now, but I'm gonna hold off on. Again, I feel like this happens every week. I'm like almost done with a book right when I'm recording this episode. But I will share my full thoughts next week. My intention was to go straight into Jade Legacy once I finish Jade War, and I still want to. But I'm not going to do that because the new Brandon Sanderson secret project is coming out, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and everything I've seen about it, it's probably going to be right up my alley. It's probably going to be something I love, and I don't want to be out of the loop. I don't like being out of the loop, okay? So I'm going to read it. I'm just going to as soon as I'm done with this, I'm probably downloading it to my Kindle, and then I'm probably going to be done with it in like a couple days. I'm pretty sure it's a short book. It's like less than 400 pages, so that's like a 2-day read for me. That's nothing, especially because the spacing is going to be bigger between words. I believe this is more reminiscent of like a YA book in length. So I'm very excited to jump into that. I didn't realize it was coming out. I had totally different TBR plans, and then I kept seeing a bunch of stuff about it, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm dropping literally everything else I'm reading because this looks awesome. So expect my full thoughts on that also next week. So you'll hear about Jade Boar and Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and I'm probably starting Jade Legacy just right away. And in the vein of everything I'm reading, holy crap, I'm flying through my stuff right now, but I do need to kind of keep this short. I posted my first update on House of Leaves in the Patreon. If you haven't seen it already, I go a little more in depth about my thoughts on there. Again, I'm gonna try not to talk about it too much on here or on TikTok or anything because it is for my patrons, but I don't know, man. I'm like 70 pages in, and I don't know how I feel still. It's been hard for me to sit down and, like, I'm not in the mood for it most of the time. I don't know, man. I don't know how to talk about it without, like, being negative, because I like it. But it seems like most of the things that, like, I'm thinking, I'm just like, oh man, I don't like the textbook format. I don't like how confusing it is. I don't like how, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like esoteric. It's like very, it feels like untouchable in a way. Like I can't really connect with very much that's going on because of like the scholarly way with the way it's written, I guess. And there's like a story within the story, and within a story, I can't say much more than that. And I'm enjoying like half of the stories that are in. I don't know how else to explain that, but it's interesting. I'm enjoying parts of it. There are also parts of it that are extremely difficult for me to sit down and read because it's just, okay, here's a passage about a Latin translation of this thing. I'm like, I don't care. Like, this doesn't contributing anything to my enjoyment of the story. I don't know, man. I don't know if anyone else is having that experience. I'm gonna finish this, and I have a feeling it'll probably go faster and faster, because it starts to get a little more wild, it seems, after the halfway point. Like, if you just flip through, the formatting gets really, really wonky after the first half, and I'm wondering if that's, like, around when it starts to get, like, super engaging and interesting, and all of this is meant to be kind of like a slow ramp up to that, which I just expressed as something I can appreciate. So maybe I'll look back on this part and be like, wow, that was actually really masterful, but so far, I'm not quite at that point yet. I am not there yet. That's definitely not capturing me fully. I'm interested, but I'm not, like, you know. Anyway, you can get my full thoughts on the Patreon if you're one of the patrons. So in other news, I'm not reading these books yet, but I decided to splurge for my birthday. I did a book haul on TikTok. I can talk about that a little bit now. I got a bunch of books there. I got Six of Crows. I'm looking at my bookshelf. I got Six of Crows. I got The Drawing of the Three, which is the only book I didn't have in the Dark Tower series. I got a Terry Pratchett book, The Color of Magic. I got The Dragon Riders of Pern, which is actually a book that my mom recommended to me. I probably would not have picked it up otherwise, but it looks like classic 90s fantasy, which I can get behind. I got A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which this is a very controversial book, it appears, at least on Goodreads and stuff. Like, some people really love it, and some people really freaking hate this trilogy, so I want to form my own opinion on that. Let's see, I picked up other stuff too. I think that's it, actually. Am I dumb? Did I forget anything? Oh, yeah, well, I mean, the big thing is that I got all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones on Blu-ray, which is crazy. That is an insane deal. I got them for $8. They were $1 each. Do you know how much money they normally are if you want to buy all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones on Blu-ray? It's like over $100. And I got them for $8. That's fucking crazy, dude. And like, I don't even understand, like, why they were labeled that. Like, that's an insane deal. Granted, I mean, putting, like, a hardback for $3 is already insane, but a Blu-ray for $1 of, like, one of the greatest TV shows ever made, I was like, yeah, I'm buying these. I don't even like Season 8. I probably am never going to rewatch Season 8, but it's $1. Like, I'm buying it. Yeah, absolutely, I am buying that. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. That's an insane deal. And so I was really happy with that. I was happy with that haul. But on top of all those books, I also went to the bookstore because it was my birthday in the past week, which is kind of cool. I had some money to spend, and I got Malice by John Gwynne. I am so excited to read The Faithful and the Fallen. I am so excited. It seems so right up my alley. Like classic, just epic stakes, good versus evil fantasy. I want that, dude. I want that so bad. I don't know I don't know when I'm gonna read that, because like it feels weird to like be reading that while I'm also still in the middle of the Wheel of Time, because they seem like similar series in a way. But I don't know. I really want to start John Gwynne, so it's tough for me to know. I wanted to just pick it up right away, but that seems like a poor choice of reading order for me. So who knows when that'll happen. But I got that, and then I picked up A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie, which is the first book in his second trilogy. So it'll be a little bit before I get to that, because I still have 2 standalones that I need to read before I read that. But I'm eventually going to own all his books, and I was like, it's best for me to just buy this now and just like have it, because I love Abercrombie. I've talked about him so much on my page already, and I'm not going to regret owning this book. So I got both of those, and it was a pretty good book weekend for me. I was really happy about that. Just buying books makes me happy, even though, my bookshelf is so full. At this point, I really need to buy a second one. I've started just like stacking things haphazardly, and it's it's starting to get a little crowded maybe. What else? Oh yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the movies I watched this week, which I watched Indiana Jones, the new Indiana Jones, and it was good. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't like, it's not as good as the original 3, obviously. It was never going to be as good as the original 3, but like, it wasn't as bad as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and it wasn't as bad as most of the franchise revivals that Disney has done. Most of those I hate. And so I was worried I was going to watch this and just like be sad and disappointed about capitalism. But I wasn't. I was pleasantly surprised. It was good. It wasn't great, and it wasn't bad. It was good. It was good. I didn't regret going. It was a little bit overlong, I think. There was definitely some sequences that could have been shortened or just like entirely thrown out. Like, it was a little bloated. But it was fine. Like, I was never like that bored. I was never like upset with anything they did with the characters, with the story. It was fun, and there was some stuff at the end that I actually really liked. There was a sequence at the end that I thought was super fun, and I was glad that they continued pushing the boundaries of what fantastical things Indiana Jones can encounter. I'm not going to say more than that in case anybody hasn't seen it, but I always appreciated in that series how, like crazy shit would happen to Indy, and it was just like accepted. Like, he just saw, people's faces got melted off, and he's just like, oh, wow, that's weird, like, and they continue doing stuff like that in this movie, and I was worried they were gonna like pull back on that and be like, oh, we're gonna be like a little more realistic about what he can encounter. They didn't do that at all, and that was fun for me. It was just, I appreciate that genre of storytelling, because it's like borderline fantasy, I really like the Uncharted games, like that, and Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones. I love that style of storytelling. You're like a swashbuckling adventurer who's going exploring through these ancient ruins, and he's finding treasure, and he's making friends, and he's fighting bad guys. Like, that's like one of my favorite genres of story, and it was just cool to revisit that, because those don't come out very often anymore, Like, I can't remember the last time that anything like that came out at all, apart from, I guess, the Uncharted movie, but that wasn't, like, great. And I wish people would put money into it, because it's clearly a gold mine, literally. Uncharted made a bunch of money, and it wasn't even great. Like, if they had put a lot more time and effort and care into that, it could have been amazing. Like, it could have been the next Indiana Jones, but they didn't do that, and I don't understand why there's not more money put into that genre. It's so fun every single time, but that's just me. I don't know, man. I also watched, I rewatched Speed Racer, I think it came out in 2008, the 2008 Speed Racer movie. Dude, that movie slaps. It's so good. If you haven't seen the 2008 Speed Racer, I've talked about this a couple times, and because when I talked about the One Piece live action trailer, I talked about how I wish that more live action anime adaptations were going the route of Speed Racer, of just being ridiculously over the top, being so colorful and flashy, and just being unabashedly goofy, and like including visual gags and stuff. And especially for something like One Piece, I wish they had just fully leaned into that, and they seemed to pull back a little bit and try and be a little too realistic. And I don't know, I rewatching Speed Racer, to me it holds up. It holds up. I mean, some of the visuals are a little dated, but like, it doesn't matter to me. It's adapting an anime, and they fully leaned into all of the visual gags and all of the goofiness that anime has in it. And I don't know, I'm just disappointed that there's not more stuff like that in existence. And I honest to God, think it's a masterpiece. Like, genuinely. It captures so much emotion that you can only really get in animated medium, but they translate it over, and it makes me angry that there's not more stuff like that. I wish Speed Racer hadn't bombed when it came out and been reviewed so poorly. I just think, honest to God, I think it was ahead of its time. Like, genuinely, I think if it was released today, all the Zoomers would be going crazy over it, dude. They would be losing their minds. It would be their favorite movie ever. It would be making $1 billion. It's so good. It's so good. And I'm pissed that it didn't get good reviews, because that movie still slaps today. It's not just not childhood nostalgia. It's still actually good. And man, if you haven't seen it, just go watch it. It's fun. It's so much fun. And it's like genuinely campy in like a good way. Like, man, why don't people lean into that anymore? Anyway, I'm going to stop ranting about that. Okay. It made me happy. It made me happy watching it again. I still love that movie. But yeah, that's about all that I did this week in terms of reading and watching and whatnot. On a separate note, not fantasy related, I started watching the show The Bear. It's about I don't know how to describe it. It's about a guy who works in a kitchen. That's a really horrible description. He goes and he works. He's like a famous chef, and he goes to work at his like family-owned diner, but like it's kind of a piece of shit, and he like butts heads with his brother and stuff, and they argue over how everything should be run. But that's like not a good description either. It's like about you know what? That's close enough. It's probably not going to convince you to watch it, but it's a really good show. If you need something like that, if you enjoy cooking and cooking, I guess. Yeah, that's if you enjoy cooking, it's probably a good thing to watch. Yeah, I started watching that. It's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. I'm only like 4 episodes in, but I had heard from other people that it was great, and I concur. It's pretty good. And oh my god. There's one more thing. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 started. Oh man, dude, I am so excited for everyone else to see the Shibuya arc finally. Anyone who's a non-manga reader, you're in for a ride. I mean, Gojo's backstory, which is going to be the first 5 episodes of this season, is going to be great. It's going to have some really good stuff in it. But Shibuya arc, which comes afterwards, is a masterpiece. I genuinely think if it's adapted well, it'll be like one of the best seasons of anime ever made. Like, genuinely, I honestly believe that. And I'm so excited for more people to see it. It's going to be amazing. And it's finally starting. It's been years. I read the Shibuya arc back in 2021. Like, literally like 2 years ago I read it. And it came out even way longer before that, you know? So, anyways, if you aren't a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, or if you haven't started it yet, you should do it. You should do it. Season 1 is incredible. It has a great anime adaptation, and what's coming out right now currently is going to be primo. It's going to be so good, and you should be on the hype train while it's coming out, in my opinion. So that's happening now. Now is the perfect time to get into JJK, so that's my pitch to you for that. But yeah, that's about it. Expect next week I will be talking about Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I'm very, 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 very excited for that book, the more I have heard about it. Brandon Sanderson apparently got a lot of inspiration from the movie Your Name, which is like one of my favorite movies ever. And that's all I need to hear, is that it's like Your Name in book form. I'm sold. I'm reading it. I am so excited, man. Anything that has anime inspiration, it's Brandon Sanderson. I mean, come on. It's gonna be. It's like he pulled this out of my brain and wrote it specifically for me. I am so ready, man. My body is ready. So expect me to be probably ranting about how much I loved it next week. But until then, I hope you're happy and healthy. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next week, guys. Bye-bye.